Of Health reports 2,500 of our state's residents died of drug overdoses in 2014, and the heroin problem is so bad in Ohio that the Centers for Disease Control has come to this state to study it.
America is quietly in the midst of the worst drug epidemic in the history of the country.
All right, Greg, what was your childhood like?
Pretty good. My father committed crimes to support us. My mother was an alcoholic. My father was murdered when I was 10. My mother continued to drink, and I acted out irrationally because I didn't know how to handle his death.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
A police officer.
It was the first time you got into drugs?
I started smoking weed in 6th grade, laughed hysterically, got me out of myself.
And what is your drug of choice?
Heroin. I drank a lot, and I got a job where I had to be up early in the morning, and somebody gave me Percocets to help with the hangover, and they helped, and I took them all the time because I drank all the time, and when I got a girl pregnant, and I decided I needed to stop drinking and just continued to take the Percocets because I liked the feeling.
Amaral says she got hooked when she was still a teenager after she went to the dentist to get her wisdom teeth pulled.
I was eating Percocets and selling OxyContin. I didn't realize, when I started eating Percocets, I didn't realize it was synthetic heroin. I didn't realize it was the same thing as OxyContin. I didn't even know it was addictive. And I was selling OxyContin and eating Percocets. And the guy I was getting the OxyContins from, I was getting the Percocets from, and he got switched over to all OxyContin. And I got dope sick, which is, like I said, was like the flu. And one of the people I was selling the OxyContin to told me, do a little bit of this, it'll take it away, and it did. And that progressed into OxyContin, that progressed into heroin. So I just continued to do that.
No question that our best, strongest pain medicines are the opioids, but these are the same drugs that have a reputation for causing addiction and other terrible things. Now, in fact, the rate of addiction amongst pain patients who are treated by doctors is much less than 1%. They don't wear out, they go on working, they do not have serious medical side effects. And so these drugs, which I repeat are our best, strongest pain medications, should be used much more than they are for patients in pain.
Placed car accidents as the 4th leading cause of death nationwide. 365,000 people die from it every year, and complications from overdoses and prescription drugs and opiates like heroin.
I think initially you have a choice to use or not to use, but there is no social heroin use. You know what I mean? Like, there's social drinkers. Like, you can't just go do heroin on a weekend. You know what I mean? It takes over you. As far as heroin goes, no, there is no choice. It's, if you do it, you're done.
In the past decade, jumped more than 60%. The users are men and women across all income.
It's the worst epidemic I've ever seen. I've been involved in law enforcement since the 1970s, and it's so pervasive. It's in every part of Ohio. You know, we used to think of drug epidemics centering on cities. Not true at all. The drug dealers are going where the money is, and that's the suburbs, and they're also in the rural areas.
Is it the high or addiction that drives your need?
At first it's a high, but then the addiction gets you. You become a slave to it, honestly. You can't function without it. You're irritable. You feel like you have the flu, and you have extreme anxiety of how you're going to get what you need. You feel like you need it to survive. And I've been able to stay sober for 2 or 3 days, and it's always the anxiety that gets me.
That represents a hit.
How much do you take at a time?
I'll probably do like a bag, so like 6 to 9 hits.
These bags are tiny balloons dealers use to package heroin. Dozens of empties hide in plain sight underneath a smiling Buddha.
And this isn't all of them, right? This is just...
No, that's just like probably a month's worth.
Wow.
And that adds up. At $15 a bag, Ashley has to come up with $1,000 a week to support her habit.
At one point, I was selling OxyContins, and the profit of those, I had $31,000, and that was gone in 3 months. It cost me cars. It cost me possessions, all my furniture, all my clothes. The biggest thing it cost me was, trust in my family. I don't have a good relationship with my son now because of it. That weighs on me more than the financial aspect of it. My mother, during the very beginning of my addiction, my mother was an alcoholic until I got my son's mother pregnant, and she called me and asked me, because they were under the impression I just quit drinking. They didn't know I started eating Percocets, and she called me and asked me to help her, get into treatment. I helped her get into treatment. She had 9 years sober, and her liver was so damaged she ended up getting liver cancer. She passed away, and 5 months after that I was homeless with my son. I gave my son to his mother, and I went to my sister's house, and it happened to be the 5-month anniversary of my mom dying. We went to the cemetery. On the way to the cemetery, I robbed my sister's purse and conned her husband into taking me on a dope run with his children, my nieces and my nephew. And I don't know what it was. I decided to get honest at that point. I told my sister I need help. And I just felt I was defeated. I was done. I can't even explain what it felt like. To me, it was a God moment. You know what I mean? It was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, because I was never honest about my use. I was, but I wasn't. And I would have never admitted to taking my nieces and my nephew on a dope run, because they're next to my kids, they're my world. And I was defeated. I was done. I didn't do anything. I didn't work a program, AA program. I didn't follow suggestions. I always ended up getting high. I'm lucky though. I hear people still talk about, years and years into sobriety, talk about wanting to get high and, having urges, but I don't. I can't explain it, but I consider myself lucky.
How do you manage your sobriety?
God, going to meetings, following suggestion, watching people that are in the program that aren't doing the right thing, seeing their repercussions and consequences of not doing the right thing. Basically, the biggest part of my sobriety, it's not going to AA meetings and hearing somebody's story. It's just learning how to live again the right way. Like when people tell me they're proud of me, or they look up to what I'm doing, I feel like I'm living like a normal person now for the first time in my life. I try to help everybody I can. That's all new to me. Helping people, caring about other people. I didn't care about anybody for a long time. Now I get pleasure and joy out of helping somebody else.